I am here with Stig Karlsen, who is the head of the Norwegian delegation at Eurovision. Stig, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. Anytime.
United by Music was the slogan initially for Eurovision 2023 in Liverpool. Decision was made to sort of elevate that slogan for the years moving forward.
The whole idea is to unite people through music. This should be an event which should be non-political. Now it's very political. So I think they have to go back and look at the rules for next year. If I were the one to decide, I would have a rule that said that countries in a military conflict can't be part of Eurovision that year.
The opposite view that I've heard is, like you said, Eurovision founded after World War II to unite Europe. And that sometimes what you have to do in order to do that is let in Franco's Spain, because down the line, they become part of the project as far as those underlying values. So how do you think about navigating that?
What happens is that when someone is in a military conflict, then there's going to be hate. There's going to be people looking at the world different ways. So I think actually the only thing to make this a non-political event is to lock the door for the countries being in a conflict while the conflict is on. Of course, that would mean that we would lock some people out as well, but I think that might be the only way to go.
After the Russian invasion of Ukraine, it felt like the EBU made a decision based on what the coalition of broadcasters wanted. And then there was no second step of like, what is the general principle that moving forward we're now going to apply? Do you think in general the EBU needs to think more in terms of like consistent principles and articulating those?
I think they have to really go back and look at the rules, because now they're hurting the brand. Now, for some people, it's divided by music. It's not like Eurovision is going to rescue the world, but I think the values that it brings, being such a big event, it will bring something positive to the world and to Europe. You have state leaders, presidents, prime ministers, the Ministry of Culture involve themselves in which artist, which song, and so on.
In addition to the calls for the EBU and Eurovision to not have Israel in the contest this year, there were calls for individual delegations to drop out in protest. NRK's response to this was that it would be wrong to drop out because they are a public broadcaster that is also covering an active conflict. So to take a stand in a conflict is not in line with journalistic values. Was that the case with Russia, or how do the people at NRK see those two as different?
I think what NRK are doing is that they have to look at the politics in Norway. We have to follow the political stand in our country. And at the point with Russia, Norway and the rest of Europe took a stand against Russia. So I think that's what they see differently now. There's haven't been any sanctions from the Norwegian government. If there's a political decision around this, then it would be differently.
When MGP selects the artist, are there discussions about how to talk about these issues to the press? What kind of guidance do the artists get? And are there rules or general principles that they have to follow?
Freedom of speech is something that we, of course, support. And so they are free to say and do whatever they want. And then, of course, we can advise them on stuff, because media and the public can be harsh. You know, it's difficult sometimes, but it's not to try to tell them what to say or how to act.
Stig, thank you so much for talking to me. This has been really, really great.
Thank you.
All the mysteries of the Euroverse.